Title: The Lighthouse of Drowned Silence. The salt lashed my face like tiny needles as the storm roared around me. The Tempest, our trawler, tossed like a toy in the hands of an angry child. We had been battling this tempest for 3 days, a hell of water and wind that seemed determined to swallow us whole. The captain, an old sea dog hardened by 1,000 battles, muttered under his breath, clinging to the helm with the determination of a castaway to his plank. Sirens Lighthouse. The lookout shouted from above. A glimmer of hope ignited in my chest. Sirens Lighthouse. A bastion of light in the midst of darkness, a beacon built on a desolate island, perpetually lashed by the waves. It was our only chance. If we could reach its shelter, perhaps we could survive this nightmare. The captain skillfully steered the ship, fighting against the fury of the sea. The Tempest groaned and creaked, but obeyed, slowly drawing closer to the flickering light. As we approached, the lighthouse revealed itself in all its imposing solitude. A tower of gray stone, crowned by a rotating lantern that spat a desperate beam of light against the storm. The island, a desolate rocky mass, looked like a skeleton emerging from the depths. We managed to anchor in a small, protected cove leeward of the lighthouse. The swell was still strong, but at least we were sheltered from the worst of the storm's onslaught. Exhausted and soaked, we made our way towards the tower, seeking refuge from the hell that surrounded us. The door of the lighthouse creaked open, revealing a dark, damp interior. A man waited for us on the threshold. Tall and thin, with a gaunt face and eyes sunken into deep shadows. His keeper's uniform was worn and dirty. "Welcome to Sirens Lighthouse," he said in a raspy voice, almost inaudible above the roar of the storm. "I am Silas, the keeper. Come in, get to safety." We weren't much for words, but we all felt a pang of unease when we looked at Silas. There was something in his gaze, a kind of emptiness, that chilled us to the bone. However, the cold and exhaustion drove us to ignore our doubts and enter the lighthouse. The interior was a labyrinth of spiral staircases and narrow corridors. The air smelled of dampness, saltpeter, and something else. Something putrid that turned my stomach. Silas led us to a small room with an unlit fireplace. "I'll try to light a fire," he said. "You need warmth." While Silas busied himself with the fire, I explored the room. The walls were covered with old marine maps, nautical charts, and strange drawings of sea creatures. In one corner, a rickety table held a thick, leather-bound book. The cover was blank, without title or author. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened the book. Its pages were filled with illegible writing, scribbles, and confusing diagrams. Suddenly, a chill ran down my spine. On one of the pages, a grotesque drawing caught my attention. It depicted a humanoid figure with a fish-like face, surrounded by what appeared to be tortured souls. I slammed the book shut, feeling a cold sweat break out on my forehead. What was that thing? What secrets did this place hide? That night, as the storm continued to rage outside, I couldn't fall asleep. The screams of the wind mixed with other sounds. Indistinct whispers that seemed to come from the walls. I got out of my cot and went to the main room. Silas was standing in front of the window, staring fixedly at the raging sea. The light of the lighthouse illuminated his pale face, highlighting the deep wrinkles that furrowed his skin. "Can't you sleep?" I asked him. Silas didn't answer. He kept staring at the sea. "What is this place, Silas?" I insisted. "What secrets does this lighthouse hide?" Silas turned slowly, his gaze fixed on me. His eyes gleamed with a strange, almost supernatural light. "This lighthouse is a portal," he said in a voice that was no longer his own. It was a deep, resonant voice, filled with an ancient evil. I recoiled, feeling terror take hold of me. Silas was no longer Silas. Something else controlled him, something dark and malevolent. For centuries, I have guided sailors to their doom. I have lured them with the light. Towards the rocks. Towards death. The storm raged with more force than ever. The lighthouse trembled, threatening to collapse. "Now. It's your turn," Silas said, extending a bony hand towards me. "Follow me into the light. Into the abyss." A scream caught in my throat. I ran towards the door, desperate to escape that cursed place. But Silas was faster. He blocked my path, his face transformed into a mask of horror. "You cannot escape," he hissed. "This lighthouse is your prison. Your tomb." I fought with all my strength, but Silas was too strong. He dragged me towards the lantern of the lighthouse, towards the hypnotic light that rotated endlessly. As I approached the light, I heard voices. The voices of drowned sailors, whispering my name. I felt an invisible force pulling at me, leading me to the edge of the abyss. Suddenly, a dull thud echoed in the lighthouse. The captain, armed with an axe, had struck Silas on the head. The keeper slumped to the ground, freeing me from his grip. The captain helped me up, and together we ran towards the exit. The storm was still raging, but we didn't care anymore. We just wanted to get as far away as possible from that cursed place. The next morning, when the storm subsided, we returned to the Tempestad and set sail. I looked back at Siren's lighthouse, which stood imposingly on the desolate island. We will never know what Silas was, or what dark forces controlled the lighthouse. I only know that we escaped by a hair's breadth. And that I will never forget the screams in the fog, nor the spectral voice that invited me to follow the light into the abyss. Since then, Siren's lighthouse has been abandoned. Sailors avoid the area, fearing the curse that weighs upon the island. It is said that, on stormy nights, the screams of drowned sailors can still be heard, and that the light of the lighthouse continues to guide ships towards the rocks, towards their doom. And some say, on the darkest nights, they see the spectral figure of a keeper, patiently waiting for his next victim, with a frozen smile and a silent invitation: follow me into the light, into the abyss.